Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Thief Master Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Chapter 3 and it's entitled Dirty Secrets. There's going to be two parts to this particular level because it's a rather long one, and this is the first challenge of the game. So, when we're infiltrating this place, it appears to be guarded by Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. However, he's in his red and black outfit, so I believe that guy was called Ermac. And I have no idea why Mortal Kombat characters are in this place, but they seem to be very, very closely modelled after them. And the beginning of this is kind of simple, but it's easy to make a mistake. And it all stems from the glass, which I haven't really discussed the glass too much. Glass is on the ground, you walk on it, makes a noise. Master difficulty, everybody hears it, everybody comes, it's bad news. A couple of things to bear in mind: you cannot swoop over glass. I don't know why. I've tried a handful of times and it never really works. There might be rare instances where you can kinda do it, but I don't recommend it. So you'll notice there was a crossfade there, guys, because I did get caught and the checkpoint was kind of awkward. And what I'm doing here is I'm going back through the level to pick up a bottle, and I'm going to show you where it is because it dawned on me that people might not have the blunt arrows. If you don't have one, making the distraction is going to be tricky, so instead I'm going to show you where a bottle is, and it's just here. So I knew there was one, I just couldn't figure out where, and that's where it is. So for the people that don't have an arrow, there is the location of a bottle that you can use. There's a vent you can probably skip all this with if you have the tools, but I do not. So back onwards and back towards the glass. So to get across glass, you can move incredibly slowly and you'll get past it without anybody noticing. That right there was intentional to get someone's attention. I wanted to see if he would examine the glass, but he didn't. It just kind of notified him a little bit. And what we're going to do here is we're going to wait for him to go the opposite direction. Because if we throw this bottle when he's close, he's going to cock block us. Because the only person who's going to look for the bottle where it smashes is going to be the other fella. And that's not what we want. We want him away, and we want this guy away from that area. So wait for him to move, throw the bottle, and then swoop accordingly. But be careful here, guys, because on the left, just in front of that guy, there is a bird cage. And if you swoop too close to it, you'll notice I'm kinda... I got away with that swoop there, but if you were stood up, you would have probably been spotted, so be very careful. But now you've done that, the trickiest part of the beginning of this level is over. Everything from this point onwards is a lot simpler than that first area. And who knows, maybe you got past that area with ease, so you're flying. But I'm always on the lookout to pick up bottles and things, pick up distraction pieces, picking up gold on my way. I don't try to go too much out of my way for them. And one thing I noticed is I found a lot of med packs and I found a lot of poppies. And at the time it really pissed me off because I didn't want them, because I was using a modifier that didn't allow me to use them. And I couldn't understand why they didn't just take them out of the game. And then I realised you can sell them, and they sell for quite a lot of gold. So you might have noticed so far in this guide that I haven't even I'm just losing language here. I haven't even picked up poppies and health in certain areas where I was very close and would have been able to do so. And it was because I didn't see a point in it. And it turns out it's a really decent source of money. So don't do what I did, learn from my mistakes, and here's a loading screen. But there's going to be a little bit of climbing here when we get into the main brothel. And when you fall down here, this is it. So from this point onwards, it's going to be, you know, a den of inequities of people getting all sorts of decadent treats. And thankfully, they're all really distracted, so it helps you a lot. And there's probably a shit ton of stuff to find in this place, but in all honesty, guys, I've never really explored it, because my first playthrough, I was consciously trying to get through the game so I could make the guide, and then the guide playthrough pretty much imitated all the successful paths I found on the first one. So once this is made, I cannot wait to get back in this place and start putting arrows through people's foreheads, start picking up every single thing in every single room and figuring out all the stuff, doing all the side quests, because it's a really cool and fun game. But This moment here, I'm putting out the candles. You don't really need to because there is no guard on this side of the room, but I'm doing it purely out of habit. And here's me exploiting a checkpoint just in case I get screwed. Which is really funny because there's a birdcage on the right of the stair set and I got screwed. But you're not going to see that because I learned my lessons. And once we go up these stairs, we need to go past the dude at the top of the stairs and to the right. That's going to lead us to where we need to be. And the trickiness on this factor comes from if you come at this from an opposite part of the house. So from the top of this, if you come at it from the left of the corridor that he's looking down, it's a really tough part of the level because he doesn't move. He just stays here cock blocking you. So the best way to approach him is from this direction. And he should probably see me at this point, but thank God his vision cone just isn't good enough. And as soon as he starts moving, you need to move. You cannot swoop because the bird cage is there and it will see you every time. So you need to just hold your breath and move so slow with this silly slow modifier and hit this door. As soon as you hit this door, you're safe. That being said, if you start hearing the music, it means someone's alerted kinda to you. And there are times in the game where the music starts when no one can see you and you'll randomly get spotted by something through a wall. That is another bug I came across a handful of times and it was incredibly frustrating. But it only really happened to me when I did an area incredibly cheekily. So if I came up to somebody and literally swooped past them as they were turning and they got aware of something but they weren't quite sure what, and then they noticed a door was open or something like that, those are the kind of situations that can lead to the AI randomly just detecting you for no real reason. So just be aware and be careful. But because I know I'm safe, I'm using the downtime at this point to hit some of the locks, open some of the chests, and the reason I'm doing this is because I want water arrows, and there's a really good reason for it. Water arrows are not too expensive compared to rope arrows, but they're still, I think, 160 gold, which is almost, I think it's more than 10 times what they probably are on normal, so it's a lot of gold for an arrow. And I got myself into a bit of a bind on my first playthrough, and I got to the Thief Taker General boss, and I didn't have any water arrows, and at the time I thought you needed 2 or 3 to do it because it just seemed really, really difficult. And there's 1 arrow in the room and that's it. So all I had was 1 arrow, and after a bit of trial and error and a little bit of perseverance, I kind of decided that the only arrow I could use this on, or the only torch, sorry, I could use the arrow on, was going to be the one to pick the door, because there's no way you can pick a lock if you're in light. It just doesn't work. And I found a really good way of doing it without any extra equipment, and I've uploaded a video of that, and it's going to be the same one in the guide, but this one will actually have commentary. So for the people who are here to listen to how I do things and, you know, the mistakes I made and how to learn, then hopefully that will prove a good video. But with that knowledge in my head, I decided on this playthrough that I was going to try and stock up on water arrows just in case. So I'm going to spend pretty much all of my excess money on rope arrows and water arrows, because they're the 2 arrows that have screwed me in my playthrough of this game. But once you examine the pedestal, it's going to tell you that there's the crazy medallion's going to fit in it, but you're going to need some symbols. So what you want to do is you want to look through these peepholes into these debauchery havens, and the last one, or the one down here, is going to give you a flashback for Erin. And I make a mistake here, guys, because I thought it classed. I thought, you know, seeing the flashback meant that I had the number and I could move on. That is not the case. The flashback took precedence over me seeing the symbol, even though I just saw it. And when I go back to the medallion chamber to do the puzzle, it doesn't work, because it classes that I don't have one of the symbols, and then I have to come back to this and look back through it again. Which, you know, mistakes do happen, folks, and I'm leaving this one in so that you don't make the same mistake I did. But you'll notice I hit the pedestal and one of the rings is not lit, which means I've done something wrong. So you might be able to hear if you've got a good sound system or if you've got headphones on, but on the audio of the game there is a guy getting a little bit of, you know, sadomasochistic, like slave and master shit happening. He's getting beat up a little bit, he's getting his nipples twisted and all sorts of crazy shit like that. And it's funny the first time when you hear him getting excited to being beaten up by a woman.
Now to align the symbols.
But it loops. for no real reason at all. So the first time I was doing this puzzle and I wasn't quite sure what was happening and I was trying to figure it out, all I could hear was this dude getting off to this person slapping him on a loop. And once you hear it like 20 times, guys, it gets really, really old really, really fast. And I have no idea how they managed to let stuff like that slip. All I can think is perhaps the game testers were too afraid to tell the people they were working for that something was wrong. Because how the fuck do you miss it? I had it on my first playthrough. My very first playthrough. I've watched another playthrough since then. They had it on their first playthrough in a completely different area. So it's not just one isolated event. It's a problem with the game. And this is another loading section that I couldn't quite find. So you have to be aware that if you see a bunch of crap and wood panels and girders and timbers and all sorts of madness, it generally means you're going to have to navigate it because they're hiding load screens with it. And I'm curious if there's going to be stuff like that on the new generation of hardware, because all I hear is that the optimization is just not where it needs to be, so a lot of the load times are kind of horrendous. But they're more powerful machines. Hopefully they've got more, you know, tech going into the load screens. I don't know if they've got solid state drives. I don't think they do. But hopefully the loading will be better, and then you'll not have to sit through those moments in Gears of War 3 where they hold the razor fence up for each other and all those other canned animation in games that essentially hide loading screens and buffer loading. Some of them don't do it very gracefully. I've been playing Castlevania Lords of Shadow. It's the game I'm currently covering after this one. And those load screens are literally following a wolf while you cannot move. You walk in this set rhythm. You can't jump, you can't do any of the face buttons, but you have to follow the wolf, so you have to hold forward, because if you don't, the game never loads. It just stays there indefinitely. And it's just bizarre. So there's another puzzle here featuring the medallion. I don't know if you have to touch the medallion before you can see these numbers, or if you can just look at the glyphs and come back. But each one of these symbols you need is going to be above these altar filled with books. And then when you come back here, it's going to give you the coordinates. And you're going to get a collectible. And this is optional, this, guys. But I am nothing if not a creature of habit. And because I did this on my first playthrough, I'm doing it for the guide. You know, it's just one of those things. And my logic here is, it might be side content, but it might give me some good money. And I'm trying to get those water arrows for reasons I've already mentioned. But there is the swag statue, the huge gold crazy figurine. It doesn't give you a value on how much they are, so I'm not even sure how much gold they do give you. If they give you any gold at all, they might just be a worthless collectible. But now that I've done that, I might have talked over where I turned the traps off for the next section, but if I haven't, you'll see me pressing a button on the wall to my right. Yeah, I've turned them off. If you don't turn those off, you will get bummed on this corridor. It's incredibly dangerous. And we're moving into now the first supernatural sequence of the game. And I don't understand it at all. It makes zero sense to me. But then again, I didn't think the plot on this game made a lot of sense. They go on about this primal thing, which essentially just looks like something that fell off a Christmas tree, and it somehow has wicked powers, yet I don't really recall where it came from or exactly what it is. You know, it just seems to be witchcraft and old men, masons, stonemasons, secret societies, crazy rituals. Everybody wears robes. But under here is a hidden library, and then under the hidden library is this crazy library thing, which has got a ridiculous puzzle that involves moving these bridges, which you're going to see me do an incredibly piss-poor attempt at. But the trick here is this bookcase. There is one of these that you need to touch. It's one of the old Scooby-Doo ones. And every time I do these bookcases, I am reminded that the texture quality on this game could be slightly higher. And here we are. This is the very strange, almost... I don't even know what this is. It's just a crazy super library. And that's the end of the first part of it. So I will see you in part 2, guys. So thank you for watching, and you take care now.